How much value is lost due to inefficient resource use in a linear economy? What are the major causes behind these losses? And what can we do about it? Welcome to the launch of the world's first value-based Circularity Gap Report, CGR, the Value Gap for Sweden. My name is Claes Kerbrand, and I will be guiding you through this event, and I'm working as an innovation manager at Resource. Before we dive into the results, we will start with a short background to the initiative, followed by short descriptions of the project and the method used. Then we will dive into the results and invite our esteemed panelists to the discussion of the findings. We won't be able to take any questions from the audience today, but we encourage you to contact us after the webinar if you have any questions about the report. After the webinar, you will get an email with our contact details and, of course, a link to the report itself. We will also record a webinar, but no personal details from the audience will be showed in the recorded version. The partners behind this initiative are the Swedish Strategic Innovation Program Resource that I'm representing, have initiated and funded the work. And I would also real quickly here, take the opportunity also to give a quick shout out for our new program director here, Malin Orebäck, who is with us here today. She won't be saying anything, but yes, hi. Now you saw her at least. So please reach out to her to talk about anything and all things circular economy. The two other partner organizations here are the ones that have developed the method, piloted on the Swedish economy, and authored the report. They are RISE, Research Institute of Sweden, Sweden's biggest research institute, and Circular Economy, a global impact organization based in Amsterdam. And today you will meet several individuals from these organizations. From RISE, you will hear from Carl Jensen, Ann-Charlotte Mellqvist, and Peter Stigson. From Circular Economy, we have Andrew Keys. And during the panel, you will hear from Ellen Einebrandt from the Swedish Recycling Association, Mattias Philipsson from the Swedish Delegation for Circular Economy and Swedish Plastics Recycling. And finally, last but not least, Marcus Wangel from the Confederation of Swedish Enterprise. Now, before I hand over to the project team, I would just like to give you a brief background here to why we are here. In 2021, we at Resource had for long recognized the poor understanding of Sweden's resource use as a barrier for a more circular economy. This resulted in that we initiated and funded the work on the first Swedish Circularity Gap Report, which was launched in 2022. And although the report is great and has really helped raise the discussion about resource use in Sweden, we have always seen this as just the start of something, and that we need to analyze the economy from many more perspectives. The circular discussion, often mainly focused on kilos and tons, need to be complemented by data and indicators that help us understand the environmental and economic impact of all these kilos and tons. So this is why we, in 2024, decided to launch a call for proposals to develop a method to measure the economic impact of inefficient and linear use of resources in society. RISE and Circular Economy partnered up and took on the challenge, and the work eventually evolved into the first value-focused Circularity Gap Report, which is the reason for why we are here today. And with that, I hand over the word to the project team to take us through the methodology and the results, and we will start with an overview of the project provided by Carl Jensen from RISE. Please, Carl.
Thank you, Claes. Before presenting the methodology, results, and conclusions, I would like to share a few words about the overall approach and process used in the project. A significant part of the project concerned the methodology development in work package 1, where we built on the established framework in the previous Circularity Gap Report mentioned, and adapting it and developing it further to better fit our value gap method used in this project. In parallel to the first work package, we carried out the research and data collections, both to identify as well as quantifying the economic losses within the Swedish economy. Main methods being used were desktop research, using results from relevant reports on the subject, but also doing experts evaluations within RISE, as well as getting input and feedback from our reference group. Once the data was gathered, we moved on to analysis and synthesis, where we developed conclusions as well as recommendations. The last work package focused on communication and outreach, which involves the main deliverables in a circular value gap assessment for Sweden, but also a more detailed methodology report, as well as presenting the results in this launch webinar to share our findings with different stakeholders. So with those few words, I'll hand over to Andrew at Circular Economy, who will provide you a more detailed explanation of the methodology behind the results.
Yes, thank you, Carl. So hi, everyone. As Claes said, I'm Andrew Keys, a research analyst at Circular Economy, an impact organization based in Amsterdam. Today, I'm going to run through a high-level overview of the methodology that we used in this study in the next slides. So essentially, this report aims to answer the following question. What is the economic value of the materials we use, the products we consume, and the systems we build? And where is value currently lost through linear activities? So to answer this question, our analysis focused on three key building blocks. Firstly, understanding value creation. With national economic data, we were able to understand how much value is created in each sector of the economy and map economic flows to different steps of the value chain, such as imports, extraction, processing, and distribution. Secondly, estimating the missed opportunity. Through desk research, we looked into the economic benefits of a range of circular economy strategies and where already available technologies could help to bring more value creation. And thirdly, estimating the value of goods reaching their end of life. National waste statistics allowed us to understand the breakdown and volume of materials that were discarded every year in Sweden. And from this, we estimated the functional value remaining in these waste flows. So moving on to the next slide, we looked at 6 sectors of the Swedish economy: agri-food, mining and extraction, and this includes forestry also, manufacturing, construction, mobility, and consumables. And these are aligned to the Circularity Gap Report just mentioned. So our results deep dive into each of these sectors, as well as provide an overall picture of everything combined. So moving into the next slide, I'd like to introduce one of the main concepts that we've based the results around. So this is the value hill, which some of you may already be familiar with. Essentially, it visualizes how economic value flows through distinct stages. So upstream material and product imports, through manufacturing to delivery and use. So highlighting both opportunities for value creation and points where value is lost or never generated. You can see value creation in pale gray. It represents how much value is generated as products move through the value chain from raw materials to final use. So for example, how much metal is being extracted in Sweden and what is its value? Within this phase, the value gap appears as value not created. So this means opportunities where economic value could exist with circular strategies, but does not, often due to inefficiencies in existing systems. This represents untapped potential based on current technologies. Second, from the right side in this chart, lies the use phase or consumption in dark gray. This represents the value of goods and services used by people and businesses. Here, the value gap can be seen in two ways. As value not created through underutilization or inefficient use. For example, how much textiles are discarded before they are sold, and how much economic value does that represent? As well as hidden costs of overconsumption. Overconsumption represents the value of goods consumed beyond societal needs and highlights wasteful use that is deemed to not serve towards increasing well-being. This highlights a key distinction between necessary and excessive value creation, central to understanding how the value gap manifests. On the very right-hand side of this diagram lies value lost in black. This represents the value of goods that end up as waste every year. We estimated this value by taking the original value of the discarded items multiplied by a rate that represents the remaining product functionality. This shows the potential for value retention with upstream interventions that prevent items from going to waste in the first place, from better design to repair and reuse, for example. In all the cars that are discarded, a share is still functional, and some parts can still be used in other cars. In a circular future where these materials are valued according to their functionality rather than market value, how much would they be worth? So by mapping this full flow from value creation to value loss, the value hill provides a clear lens for identifying the components of the value gap, showing where value is lost along the value chain and revealing inefficiencies and leverage points to both increase circularity and retain more value within the economy. And on the next slide, well, maybe let me start by saying, according to the Circularity Gap Report Sweden from 2022, Sweden's economy was found to be 3% circular, with a circularity gap of 97%. Our study complements this finding by introducing the value gap concept. So overall, the value gap provides an economic lens on circularity by capturing the value that disappears through waste and end-of-life losses or is never created in the first place. We calculate the value gap by summing all value that is lost or never created, then subtracting the value recovered at the end of life through waste management. Then this total is divided by the total value that society actually captures, excluding overconsumption. So therefore, a lower value gap signals that more value is retained through design, efficient systems, and circular strategies, while a higher value gap exposes system inefficiencies, waste, and lost opportunities for value creation. I'd like to now pass over to Anne-Charlotte, who will present the results of this methodology.
Thank you, Andrew. Very good. So the results. I'm Anne-Charlotte Mellqvist. I work as the project manager in this project, and I will take you through some of the results that we have found, starting with the total value gap of Sweden. So here is the number. 19% of the Swedish economy is lost due to inefficiencies. This represents 600 billion SEK per year, which is more than half of the Swedish national budget. So our analysis demonstrates that Sweden is missing out on substantial economic value. This is the overall result. Going a bit more into detail, we can start by looking at the results of in terms of value flows per sector. So this diagram then clearly shows that the value in the economy is generated more towards the right side of this value chain, which is the least incentive part of the materially intensive stage of the economy. So this is really important because it shows that it is a huge difference between this value gap and the value flows through the economy that we just saw, and what I here have just pasted in the left part of the picture, which is the mass flow of the economy. So in the mass flow from the Gap Report Sweden, the flows are not as concentrated in the right side, as you can see in the value flow diagram. And this misalignment between material intensity and economic value creation remains a central barrier to circular progress and to the challenges that we have today. Going even more in detail here in the value gap and the sector picture, this shows the value gap number per sector. So mining and extraction being the sector with the least value gap, the smallest value gap, 3%, and construction being the sector with the highest value gap number, 39%. And as Andrew mentioned, we have done this analysis in detail with the help of the Value Hill framework for all of the sectors. This is one of the sectors, the one which has the biggest losses, that is the construction sector. So in this diagram, you can see then, as Andrew described, how value is created and built up in the left part, and then being used and then lost in the right part. And for example, then in this sector, you can see we have seen that the value lost is 180 billion SEK per year, which is a very high number. We also see that value not created amounts to 37 billion SEK per year, and overconsumption to 123 billion SEK per year. And for each of these numbers and for each of these steps in the value chain, we have also identified circular opportunity, which is the yellow small figure that you see there, or picture, part of the picture. So here we can for example see that when it comes to the construction sector, there is a value or there is a circular opportunity both in waste reduction on construction sites, but also renovation, reuse, refurbishing, and efficient use of building space. And for each of the sectors that we have gone through, you can find these details in the report. Looking again a bit more across sectors, we also have we can also analyze and see that the biggest driver of value loss for all the analysis or for all of the economy is the premature end of life of goods. So this is a key driver of the gap, and across the sectors, this amounts to 420 billion SEK. But this is not only a huge loss, it is also a massive opportunity. So to the right of this slide, you can see a list of circular opportunities that we have identified, and you can see that it's everything from circular design, modular design, through business models such as reuse, repair, refurbishing, waste reduction, zero waste production, all the way to recycling. And which is also a very important result, that even if the most of the value lost lies on the right-hand side, or sort of occurs on the right-hand side in our methodology, the opportunities to actually recover these losses lie more in the left side or upstream in the value chain, like circular design, modular design, and business models. So there is a massive opportunity here, trying to capture all that value that is lost because of premature end of life of goods. I also have one specific slide here about the overconsumption, because overconsumption across the sectors is also a very important part of the value gap. It amounts to 200 billion SEK annually, and that number is built on what we have found in 3 of the sectors where we had the possibility to look into this and to find data. It's based on the construction sector, the construction real estate, where underutilized floor space and aesthetic renovations have been estimated. It's food consumption beyond nutritional needs in the agri-food sector, and it's oversized vehicles in the mobility sector. And these overconsumption this overconsumption then is redirecting resources from more meaningful contributions to well-being and from real valuable, more valuable consumption. And here as well, you can see to the right that there are a number of opportunities linked to this. I have a final slide where we have concluded our results in 4 recommendations or call to actions. It's the first one is to leverage data to inform circular solutions. And this one is extremely important because we, as we have told you when we talked about the method that we've used, we have combined both data and statistics that were available, but also with other type of desk research and with assessments that we had to make to be able to assess different parts of the economy. So there is a huge need to have more data to inform circular solutions and more statistics, and also to support further development of both methods and standardization. And then we recommend that this would be done by extending ISO work, for example, but also by having a clear government assignment to the Swedish Statistics Authority to start collecting this data and produce the statistics needed, and of course also with more research funding into methods, for example. The second recommendation that we have is also extremely important. It is about the value definitions and market failures. It's apparent from our work that market failures occur across the economy. And the way that we assess value today does not include real value. It does not include resource scarcity. It does not include externalities caused by resources and resource use. So here there is both a need for more research funding into the concept of value and how we can work more productively with that, but also for lots and lots of different policy interventions that could help correct these market failures. Everything from pricing of resources, of course, which is often mentioned in this when talking about circular economy, which is a sort of core possibility, but also lots of other things that has to do with promoting repair, subsidizing, and so on to include the values that we want. And we actually point that the Circular Economy Action Plan includes already quite a lot of these possibilities and suggestions. The third one, the third call to action here is more directed towards business, and it has to do with the cross-sectoral collaboration that we think is needed to scale both circular business models and for example, industrial symbiosis. This must also be supported by more research on data and value sharing mechanisms. But to actually be able to capture all this value and these opportunities that we have identified, it's something that business can start doing, of course. And second, or finally here, last but not least, sorry, we have to promote the need-based consumption and start thinking about sufficiency and circularity in a more consistent way. We think that both education, culture, regulation, different campaigns, etc., needs to be leveraged to be able to really push in the direction towards sufficiency and circularity within the planetary boundaries. This is, of course, the overconsumption part of our report that clearly has shown this the need for this. So thank you very much, and yeah, I hope that you will be able to take over, Claes.
Thank you very much, Charlotte, and also Andrew, Carl, for your hard work and for presenting these very interesting results. We will now invite our esteemed panelists to the discussion. So please welcome Marcus Wangel, environmental policy expert at the Confederation of Swedish Enterprise, Mattias Philipsson, chairman of the Swedish Delegation for Circular Economy and CEO of Swedish Plastics Recycling, and Ellen Einebrandt, CEO of the Swedish Recycling Association, and also, last but not least, Peter Stigson, Director of Market and Research Development at RISE. First off, let's see that, make sure that every one of you can have their camera on. I don't see Marcus. Are you with us, Marcus?
I'm here.
Good. Perfect. Let's start with you, Peter. As one of the authors, what is the most important result from your perspective?
Well, from my perspective, I would absolutely point to the fact that we now have a number. We haven't had a number in terms of the value gap before. And obviously we can agree or we can disagree on that number, but now we have somewhere to start discussions. And it helps to broaden quite necessarily our understanding of a circular economy from just mass and volumes to importantly also include values. And therefore closely related, but in my view equally important result are the methodological insights that we have gained. An analysis of an entire economy through a specific lens is obviously not easy. So therefore we clearly highlight the methodology in the report, but also as a separate appendix for others to understand and use.
Were the results expected, or are you surprised, for example, for this 90% figure?
Well, looking at an entire economy, you sort of expect a number of zeros and digits, of course, in terms of total value, and we have indeed identified that. But I was expecting a higher gap in terms of percentage, and not that the percentage is low, it certainly and most undoubtedly highlights that we need to reduce the gap. But I can also add that when we've had to choose, we have typically chosen a more conservative value in terms of losses. And we have also prioritized currently available possibilities and technologies. If we would have included future technologies that could bridge the gap, then obviously the number would have been much higher. But so, yeah, surprised, I would say, if I would have to lean them.
Yeah, thank you, Peter. Now, Ellen, Marcus, and Mattias, let's also invite you to the discussion here and start with a broad warm-up question for all three of you to answer as quick as possible. From your perspective, why is it important to talk about value? Marcus, starting with you.
Thanks. I guess value gives us some form of analytical lens that would be missing in the debate on circular economy. Moving us away from tonnages and waste statistics to kind of deeper question of how effectively the economy transforms resources into societal benefits. So I think, in short, value thinking, it turns circularity from more technical adjustment, environmental issue to a core strategic economic agenda. And that's where we need to move the entire circular economy discourse as well.
Perfect. Ellen, your answer?
Well, yeah, I think economic value is a way to make the issue accessible to more people, not least to politicians, I would say. Talking about value losses in terms of money instead of products and materials creates a better understanding for the lack of circularity in society and the lack of welfare, the lost welfare that comes with circularity. So it is impactful and it's pedagogical, I would say. And even though we can calculate the economic losses in different ways, it is crucial that we start talking about money to a greater extent when it comes to circularity. Money talks, and this is a way to reach everyone who is not used to think in terms of volumes as, or materials, as Marcus said. And I really welcome the report and more reports that focus on economic value connected to our product and material management.
Really good. Matthias, do you have anything to add?
It's the economy is stupid. I think some president said in the US. I think it's a great way of actually showing lawmakers and politicians that this transition to a circular economy is crucial for the whole nation. And I certainly appreciate that you've done this great work, because this will for sure make it easier for those people to really understand. From my opinion, a lot of companies are already recognizing and understand the importance of this transition, but we really, really, really need to reach the politicians and lawmakers.
Great. And following up with you, Matthias, what are your key takeaways from this report?
Well, like I said, I think it's a smart way of showing not only tonnage, volumes, etc., which can be quite hard to understand and compare between different material flows. Money, everybody understands money, and if we can show that there's a huge potential for increasing Sweden's competitiveness in the future by showing how much money we lose, is quite clever. So that's the real takeaway, and I will bring it for sure in my different forums to show the potential.
Great to hear. Marcus, what are your key takeaways from the report?
Again, I'd say the idea of value retention, if it be through durability, modularity, reuse, remanufacturing, and so forth, that it kind of so puts it so clearly it's an underexploited economic regime that we need to work more. So that's the whole basic idea, I think, is one important key takeaway. But the other would be tackling premature end of life. I would see that as a big opportunity for Sweden and Swedish businesses as well, because we are at the forefront of good product design, stronger repair, refurbishment ecosystems. Compared to many other countries, we have gone quite far already. So keep working on that, and then all the big economic values that we can unlock. So we have a comparative advantage in some of the challenges. So that gives me kind of hope of the report identifies what you need to do better than we already are doing today.
Yeah. And you mentioned premature end of life here, so I would like to move to Ellen here. And as we have heard today, a large share of the value lost is represented by premature end of life. So while a lot of these products, of course, represent your member company's material supply, these companies probably also see a lot of products with lots of functionality still intact ending up at their facility. So why do you think we are throwing away functioning stuff to this extent?
Yeah, that's a tough question. Within the recycling industry, we see that there are many products and materials that could have been reused and could have had a longer life, I would say that. And the challenge is to achieve longer lifespan. The problem is often that the demand for reuse is very low compared to the demand for new products and new materials. And the same is often the truth for recycled materials. And I mean, 420 billion SEK, that's a huge loss. But it is also, as Marcus said, a great possibility. And the report tells us so. But I think we need political action to capture those possibilities to a greater extent.
Very good. Matthias, you're representing both the recycling company and the delegation for circular economy with a key role to inform policymakers in Sweden. So what are your thoughts on this? So why are products being discarded prematurely, and what is the key messages for the policymakers here?
Well, something that it can be very important to recognize is why Sweden is so good at linear economy. If you look at the conditions that's needed to be so successful, 97% linear, you need to understand why are we that good. And we are discussing a lot in the delegation and also in my company, Swedish Plastic Recycling. How come this works so nicely? And one of our conclusions is that actually Sweden has the world's highest incineration capacity in the world per capita. So, and in my point of view, or according to me, waste incineration is the opposite of a circular economy. And since we have this huge capacity, we always have to compete with incineration plants that needs a continuous flow of waste, and the majority of the waste that's being incinerated today in Sweden is actually recyclable or can also be reused. So this is something that we need to address and think about to find a good transition. In the future, we won't need that much incineration capacity because we will have it circular in society.
Alan, do you agree?
Yeah, I agree. We have lived for a long time in a linear society that has not valued resources sufficiently, and key factors are also, if we want to achieve optimal circularity, key factors are also circular demand and profitability in circular business models, I would say. These two factors are often missing, and when profitability is lacking, policies are needed to drive development forward. In Sweden, policymakers have not done this to a sufficient extent, I would say. And there is a lot happening right now at the EU level, and Sweden has a great opportunity to push the European circular initiatives forward right now.
Good. Marcus, I know you also have a lot of messages for policymakers, and they are often very well formulated. But how about the messages to the businesses that you present? What are those?
The Swedish Enterprise, we represent 49 different business sectors across the entire spectrum. So it depends a lot on what sector we're talking about. But in general, we tend to portray the message that circularity is not a matter of waste management, rather saying that the major value pools, if you will, lie in service models, longer durability, refurbishment, digital traceability, new forms of customer engagement. So trying to broaden the idea of what a circular economy is. Because I think in a majority of companies, especially smaller ones that haven't really caught it onto the agenda yet, it's still a very narrow idea of what it is that's basically recycling. And we tend to see if we can come in early in the life cycle, upstream interventions, we'll solve many of the downstream problems we're seeing today with the entire waste discourse. So what we do from Swedish Enterprise is to keep pushing for regulatory coherence, better incentives in the design phase of products, and of course also at the EU level, a single market where value retaining models can flourish. So we try also convince many of our member companies to kind of be more courageous as well. That explaining to them that circularity isn't shifting the entire production process. You can do, to begin with, fairly small interventions and still have a measurable outcome. So try to make them more courageous, more willing to invest and form partnerships that strengthen circularity somewhere along the value chain. That you don't have to do it all at one time. You can do it piece by piece.
Yeah, the famous low hanging fruits while having eyes on the targets, of course. Really good. Peter, returning to you, with your background as a policy researcher, what are your key messages for the policymakers here?
Well, first of all, looking at policy theory, don't introduce policy instruments where it's not needed. But the report highlights several market failures. And so we have a number of situations where policy instruments may actually be needed. And while the report has identified several of these failures. We need more research to understand them in more detail, to actually understand them in such detail that you can see if it requires a policy instrument, which type of policy instrument, and which design of that specific policy instrument to deal with that specific failure. But the problem is, in order to do that, to look at it in more detail, we typically need better statistics. The current statistics we have that we can use in these types of analysis and in the form of report are of quite poor quality and quite low resolutions, even in terms of mass and volumes, but even more so when we start looking at values. So another message to policymakers from that perspective is to obviously improve this situation, typically by giving Statistics Sweden a detailed task in this regard to improve the statistics. Yeah.
Yeah, a really good next step for SEB then. But what is the next step for RISE and Circular Economy now?
Well, I would say two things. Further research on methodology and testing different methodologies for these types of analysis. There is not just one correct way to do this. So if we apply different methodologies, we can see what numbers did you come up with and you come up with. So we get more robust insights. And that can also include valuing other aspects and what we typically value from an economic perspective today, and including statistics such as negative environmental impact, social values, and so on, that would give even more insights to the number and the analysis. And the second would be more detailed analysis, looking at specific sectors, value chains, value networks, specific materials or products as another way to get more into detail and getting more robust insights into what should be done specifically in this regard. So.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to keep the conversation going and with all four of you and turn all these insights into actions. But it is now time to end. So Peter's words will have to be the final ones. Please, I think we will have a QR code on the screen in a second. Yes, please scan that to find your way to the report in English and Swedish. It is available as a dashboard on the webpage and also as a downloadable PDF. And the PDF is the go-to option for any of you working or using a smart device. But I highly also recommend you to try the dashboard from your computer. And as mentioned earlier, link to the report will also be sent out to everyone after the webinar. So thank you very much to all panelists, and thank you everyone in the audience. And finally, thank you very much, RISE and Circular Economy, for all your hard work and great report, adding another valuable piece to the Circular Economy puzzle. So as I said before, let's keep the conversation going and turn all these insights into actions. Thank you and goodbye, everyone.